or no deal? That's the questions that's been on our minds for the past few weeks when it comes to another war with Iran. Now, an Israeli AI startup has peered inside the minds of Iran's top commanders, and their synthetic profiles reveal a startling consensus. The Islamic Republic's future, they say, belongs to a military strongman and not the clergy. So for more, I'm now joined by Neil Tsour, CTO and co-founder of Askit. So Neil, thank you very much for being with me today.
Thanks for having me.
It's a very interesting concept that you've created because you went into the minds of 122 IRGC generals and you have figured out how they think. So can you explain to us how does it work exactly?
Sure. So always start with a physics analogy. So I think the best way is to think about a river. The single molecule to predict its movement is really hard. You need a lot of information. It's almost impossible, very random. But at the level of the entire river, it's much more predictable. Because of the interaction between molecules, it creates kind of shared patterns. So this aligns perfectly with actually how humans behave. So we are really random in a way, but when we are in a group, we have much more shared patterns. So that's exactly what we do in Askit. We basically create synthetic humans or audiences that their shared patterns, their aggregate behavior aligns with the real audience behavior. So this is kind of the basics. And then we should say to ourselves, let's test, like we're already testing out there, but let's ask questions of people that we would never be able to ask, which is the IRGC generals.
Yes, because we have no idea what's going on in their mind, but you figured it out. So what exactly did you ask these generals and what did they say?
All right, so I think the top thing that we found, you already mentioned that the clergy, this model of the senior religious clerk as the next in line, right? It's kind of dead in our survey of them.
Which is interesting because we would think it's a religious guy.
Right. And the second thing that we found is that 69% of them said, okay, IRGC generals. 29% of them talked about Khamenei's son. It's interesting to see that for Khamenei's son, they actually looked at it as a dynasty, as a stable way of going forward for Iran, as a new path for Iran. Meanwhile, for the IRGC general as the next in line, more about the abilities to push Iran to handle, their crisis. Because if you think about it, you have the war with Israel in June, you have the unrest in January, so all these kind of things really unstable the regime, and they going for this kind of a solution. So it's two ways of thinking of the future. And maybe I'll finish with, I have a few more, but I'll finish with another one about should they build a nuclear bomb?
Yeah, and that's important.
Yeah. And it's interesting, 89% of them said, yeah, build it. But it's interesting to see that the reason for building this, it's not just simple strategies, it's actually emotional. They align themselves with things that relate to the Iraq-Iran war, of what happened there in terms of them being, regular soldiers in this almost, I think, a decade worth of war. So it's much more complex than that. There's a few more, but let's see.
No, it's very interesting because basically they're just tooting their own horn. Basically, the IRGC, what you found is that they want a nuclear bomb, they want a military guy, probably one of their own to succeed Khamenei. Did you also ask if there's going to be a war?
So no, I didn't ask. We didn't have time for this. I should maybe mention two other things. First, that we were really surprised by the fact that there was some religious reasoning, but it wasn't really the main thing. So at the end of the day, they went to very specific, very handling the situation, then religion as the source of truth and way of solving this. And I think I forgot what's else, but yeah, I think.
But it's interesting to figure out their thought pattern through AI. So thank you very much for being with us today, Neil Tsour, CTO and co-founder of Askit.
Thank you.